Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you some Saturday morning play. I got up super early and I decided to mess around with some mixed media collage. These are all pieces from my desk, so this is once again collage from the desk, and as you can see, I had my art journal habit homemade art journal from 2018, and this one still has the prompt from 2018 written on the page. It says tropical. I made this journal out of political flyers that came in the mail. They're kind of a lightweight cardboard, and I put some inexpensive gesso on either side, punched them, cut them all to the same size, and then I just made covers, and I have these little steel, I think they're keychains that screw together at the end to hold it together. So I pulled out this page. I don't know what the date it should have been made. Obviously, I missed that day for some reason. Art journal habit, we usually do it in November. This year we're going to be doing it in October, I think. And it's just a one-word prompt, an art journal page each day. And obviously, in my 2018 and 2019 journals, there are still both in those journals a few pages that are not completed because I was sick or, something happened on that day. If you don't get one every day, well, that's just what happens in your life. But I figured I'd finish them up. So this tissue paper from some sort of a package or something is a yellow color. And then I have this stencil print. This stencil's from Stencil Girl, and it was designed by Tracy Bautista. She has very loose mark-making, interesting stencils. And so I had been playing with some acrylic inks, and there was acrylic ink left on the front of the stencil, and I just flipped it over onto my background paper, which is deli paper, and printed it. So I thought it looked tropical. Sunshine to me is tropical, and I was thinking about yellows and greens and warm colors like that. So I added a little bit of extra Naples yellow with my finger to the background because I could still see some of that print from that stupid political flyer. Irrelevant waste of paper. That's the reason that I make journals out of them when I have a whole pile of them, because it's just a waste. Stop sending me all that stuff in the mail and stop killing trees. So I also have a little blank tag, and I was adding some more colors. This is Lime from Dina Wakley and also Coral from Dina Wakley. And as I was putting those on, it occurred to me that I have this weird juxtaposition going on here. I have a warm yellow and a cool yellow. And I don't really like that much, but the lime was supposed to be green, but it actually ends up being a cool yellow. So if you can kind of look there, and you can see there's two different tones of paint, which are contrasting a little bit and kind of bugging me. So I decided, of course, I'm going to do some collage with pieces from my desk. So I've got this little bucket of scraps and bits and bobs, and I'm pulling out some different things I might like to use on my page. I'm thinking about flowers and tropical plants and jungly areas and stuff like that. So I thought about making a palm tree or a coconut tree. I thought I might make some tropical flowers. So I'm pulling out stuff that I think I might use. Also just other things that I think are interesting. And who knows what's going to happen, I'm just grabbing a bunch of stuff, and then I will make something out of it, because that's what we do when we're doing collage from the desk. All this stuff was on my desk and not put away, and I just grab it and I use it. So I have this kind of craft colored textured paper that is interesting, and I thought it might make a good trunk for maybe a coconut palm. And then I also have some pattern tissue, and I was thinking about the pattern that a palm has on it. If you guys have never seen one, or you've never grown one, I have one in my backyard. Basically, it starts out of these things that grow up out of the ground, and they're like a long stem with these these leaves hanging off on both sides. And then as they grow, the ones on the underside die. And then on the top of the plant, some more come out the top. So you end up with these things coming straight up and out of the top, and the ones on the bottom dying. And the more that happens over time, it starts to grow into kind of a trunk at the bottom, because those are the leftover plants that die off. So you end up with a lot of texture, a lot of like kind of V-shaped horizontal texture going on. So that's what I was trying to build with my collage. And then I also wanted some other type of plants, because in a tropical environment, there's just an explosion of plants, all kinds of stuff. So I have these little bits left over from when I did a digital background exchange, these little plant looking things, vines. That was on somebody's, I can't remember whose, but that's a laser print. And I'm tearing the plant shapes out of it and putting them on. I also have that piece of deli paper down at the bottom, where the other day I was playing with compressed sponge for mark making, and I cut out a plant shape out of a compressed sponge and then put some water on it, and it grew into a mark making tool. And as I was playing with it, I was playing it with olive and lime colored paints to make a print, and that's what that is down there at the bottom in the middle. It's one of those leftover bits that I was printing with that compressed sponge. I have some other things. That thing with the lines on it is a piece of watercolor paper that was left over from a project. And I have just other pieces. I got some tissue, some painted papers, some gel prints, just little bits. And I'm tearing them into some leaves for my coconut palm tree. And then also I want some flowers. I had that little pink piece that I grabbed, and I tore it into kind of a flower shape. And I just keep adding different pieces and building up my background. This is 100% torn paper collage, which is very different than paper piecing. Lots of times people will comment on my paper piecing. Paper piecing requires cutting and also sometimes patterns. And I do that sometimes. I cut things out. This time it's 100% torn paper. So it's a much looser look than cutting and piecing together things. Very different. I also love this spiral shape that was in the greens. That came to me on an envelope. And I was thinking about plants that climb and how they often will have a little spiral on the end, because they're reaching up for other plants to help them grow and to help them stretch. And that was kind of an analogy for my page today, because I was thinking about people who support other people. And, we're still having this situation going on in our world with this virus and quarantine and all that. And I see a lot of positive posts here and there, and people saying, okay, we're strong together, things like that. But more than that, I see negative stuff constantly going on. And I was thinking about the people who support me and the people who encourage me to continue to grow. And that's why I put the spiral on there, because that spiral shape reminds me of that. It doesn't really necessarily fit, but it does in my mind. And art journaling is about what's going on in your head, what's going on, what you're thinking about, what you're feeling. And so I'm trying to get out the feels. So then, of course, in a tropical environment, you have an explosion of color. There's always things blooming. Here in Arizona, we have one little 2 to 3 week very, very, very intense blooming period, and then it's over. In a tropical area, things continue to bloom all the time, and you've always got these pretty flowers and bright, interesting plants, and it's warm and it's humid. So that was what I was trying to portray with my page. Kind of wish I was there instead of here. I love my desert, but I kind of would like to be on a beach with a pina colada right now. That's really where I would like to be. So I've got the edges trimmed. I'm drying everything down to make sure that it's all on there good and stuck down. Then I thought, oh, I need some coconuts because, I want my pina colada in a coconut with a little umbrella. Uh, so I tore a few coconuts out and stuck those down. I just put them on with some regular Yoo-hoo glue stick because I didn't feel like getting the brush back out of the water. So I'm happy with that. That looks good. Um, the only thing that's kind of bugging me is, like I mentioned before, I have a cool yellow, which when I put it on, I intended it to be green, but it actually ends up being a cool yellow, and it's bugging me in the background. Um, this is just a personal artistic choice. Maybe it doesn't bug other people. But it's like, I want to warm it up. I want to warm the background. This is hot, jungly, humid. It's not cool, and that cool yellow color was bugging me. So I decided to get out some Glazing Medium, which is a type of paint that has no pigment in it, and it's good for making your other paints translucent by mixing them. So I got that and some cheddar colored Dina Wakley paint. Mix those two together to make a translucent, warm yellow orange. And I'm just applying that to the background a little bit to just warm everything up. I have a baby wipe and I'm blotting back. Also, where the spiral was, there was the white background, which was bugging me, and I wanted to fill that in too. So now everything is warmed up. It's looking, pretty good. Still working on this tag on the side, and I'm taking the rest of that glazing and throwing it on there. That also has the coral and lime on it from the brayering that I did in the background. And I will be finishing that tag, so we'll get to that. So then I want to finish this up. I want to bring things out. I want to make it fun and, loose. And I mean, that's what mixed media collage is when you're doing torn paper. It's loose. It's not precise and nitpicky. That's what I'm trying to do here, is make something real loose. So I get out a needle tool with some white paint in it. This is fluid paint in a needle tool. Titanium white, very opaque. And I can write or draw or sketch with it and make a real fun, loose look. And so I'm doing my illustration lines. You guys know I'm obsessed with illustration lines with white, with this hard to control, looser look. If I had gotten out a white Posca pen, I could kind of do that a little bit, but this needle tool is much harder to control and makes a much looser look. So that brings out all my things that I've collaged on there and makes it more interesting. Could have also done it with black, but I just thought that white was more appropriate. That's how I felt about it. So then I'm making some words to put on my page with my Brother P-Touch label printer. And I print them out, trim them down, and then make sure that paint is dry. And stick those down. It says, it's a jungle out there, stay inside. I still think we should all be staying inside, no matter what the government is saying. If you want to support the economy, order things, shop in place. That's how I'm supporting the economy. I'm shopping in place. You can order delivery food. You can order art supplies from people that need help with running their small businesses, things like that. You could even order a car if you really wanted to. I mean, if you really wanted to support the economy, you can actually order a car from, I think is it called Carvana, where they have car vending machines. They'll just bring it to you. It's pretty weird. I'm not going to do that, but you could. So then I just needed a little bit more depth. So I added a little bit of shading and shadowing with a Stabilo graphite pencil, which is reactive to water, and blended it with my water brush. And I did actually end up edging that page with some gray ink at the very end, but I don't remember if it made it on the video. So now I'm going to work on the tag. Remember, this has the leftover paints that I was using on it. Yeah, I have this. So I have this die cut that has all the letters on it at once. And you put a piece of paper on it and you roll it through your die cut machine and it makes all the letters at once. And then you only need some of the letters and then you need multiples of the other letters. So then you roll it again because you need more than one I and more than one E. You see where I'm going. It's leftover from that. And it makes fascinating shapes. I wanted to just grab a few things out of my pile that I pulled earlier that already have a shape and not change the shape. Well, maybe change the shape a little bit, but I thought it would be interesting. These are like leftover pieces where I've cut something out and they already are a shape, and I'm just going to glue them down as they are. I'm not going to change them. That little piece of tissue was actually torn, but the others I think were cut. Like I was cutting something out of them, and then that's the leftover bit that I saved. And then this is the leftover bit from the punched out letters or the die cut letters, which I tore the sides of them just to get the excess off. And I think they look fascinating. I actually love this tag. I love the finished tag. It's really cool. I like those shapes. I think that they're interesting, and you just wouldn't get that some other way. You know, there's just no way you can get that shape. This shape is, I was making some jewelry and I cut out a pattern for the size that I needed to make the little painted pieces. And so I just tore the edges off of it, and it's an interesting shape too. It's like a little rectangle. I put it behind this piece that has a punched out butterfly on it. And I just thought that was cool. Then I decided to do some more mark making and gestural marks with this gray pencil to add some more interest because I like the way it looks. I thought that my little butterfly inside needed some color, so I added some of that cheddar color in. It's in the background as well, and I put it in the background a little bit more here and there, making sure that doesn't cover anything up, but that you bring that color around. And I just keep messing with it until I'm happy. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please remember to give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment or question below. Tell me what you played with in art on Saturday. Maybe you baked something, or maybe you made something in your studio or creative space. Tell me about it. Of course, you can subscribe to my channel, turn on my notification bell so that you know when there's a new video, and you can share this video if you really like it on Pinterest or Facebook or something like that. All those things really help me out by helping other people find my videos on my channel. So I brought in that white needle tip again and drew around the butterfly a little bit to make it stand out more from the background. I needed to make this tag have a border, so I put another piece of cardstock around it. Just punching there and punching the holes back into my page so I can put it back in the book, making sure everything is dry. I did add a little bit of splatter with white Posca pen by just flicking the pen. I like to do that. That's very me. And then I'm going to glue this tag onto the cardstock background, trim it down, punch it, and add some ribbon or fiber to it. I actually ended up adding some tulle that's spelled T-U-L-L-E, and it is like a netting that they use on fancy dresses to fluff them up underneath. Cut it in half. I'm not sure where this came from. I have no idea. And then I added some eyelash yarn, and it's a really cool tag. I really like it, and it was simple, just leftover pieces and parts. So that's it for me for today. Here come your close-ups, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.